All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, very excited to be talking to an individual who is in quite the historic, unique fight here, champ versus champ. It goes down November 5th. It is the last dance. I'm talking Kun Khmer, traditional Cambodian ropes, and Prom Samnang getting out there, the current champion, and going to be taking on Dave Leduc, and very excited to have Dave back on the show. How are you doing there, man? You having a solid day?
Hey Dylan, thanks for having me. Well, it's actually night here in Turkey. Had a crazy training today, and training camp is full on, and I'm really ready. I think it's 5 or 6 weeks to go, and it's gonna be a warmer, man.
Yeah, it seems like a big one. I saw you got invited officially by the Prime Minister of Cambodia, so it seems like a big one.
Yeah, so I thought initially he just wanted me to, just shake hands and welcome me to the country, but then I was told that I think he wants to do a bit like Dana White. He wants to have both of us on that day, so we're both going on November 2nd, a couple days before the fight. We're going to go into his office at the, I think near the Royal Palace, and we're going to, I guess, do some kind of face-off, and it's never been done in the history of the Kun Khmer, which is very, I think there's 16 million people there, 16, and they're all, obviously they love their sport, and usually, the leader, the president meets with like the champions, but has never invited, a challenger, an opponent, a foreigner. So this is very flattering. I guess I messaged him and I said, I said. On Facebook very publicly, right? And I said, do you like martial arts? Do you want to come see the fight? Do you want to... And he replied to me on Facebook as well, and he said, well, actually, I'd love to, and looking forward to have you in the country. And then his protocol assistant reached out, and we scheduled this meeting. So it's going to be a hell of a meeting. So very, very excited about this.
Yeah, and I'm very... interesting rules for sure. I mean, 1 round, 9 minutes, KO to win. Like, what are some other facets of this sport that maybe like some people who are like neophytes to it, like maybe people more follow you for like the Lethwei and everything like that? Like, what are some other, I guess, facets of this contest that they can expect when they check it out?
Absolutely. So basically, just to tell the backstory a little bit, I fight Lethwei, which is 9 limbs, headbutts allowed, no gloves, takedowns allowed, right? It's KO to win. And basically, initially we were supposed to fight it in Slovakia, but his visa got denied, and he was not able to come into the Schengen area in Europe. So that kind of was a bummer. And but the excitement for the fight was still very, very high, and I gained, like, I guess 200,000-300,000 new followers from Cambodia. I actually think I'm one of the most famous fighters there, and I've never been. It's just it's insane the amount of love I get right now in Cambodia. And then since the fight was not possible under Lethwei rules because you did not want any headbutts, at the end, so I said, okay, so what do? We have to find a common ground. So Kun Khmer, the way you said it was, perfectly said. People usually don't say well. Unlike Lethwei, Myanmar Lethwei doesn't have any headbutts, and they fight with all 8 limbs, similar to Muay Thai with gloves. Actually, there's a big feud, and I think that's the reason why we get along so well, because I'm banned from Thailand, for life. If I go there, I'm going to go to prison, or I'm going to get poisoned, or I don't know. And Cambodia also has a feud with Thailand because the sport of Muay Thai is said to be taken from Kun Khmer, from Cambodia. And when you look at Kun Khmer, it is the same thing as Muay Thai. They wear the headband. They wear, they have the same gloves. It's 5 rounds. It's the same techniques. So initially, there's a big feud right now, and the reason why the Thailand and Cambodia don't get along right now is because I don't know if I find it very interesting. I don't know if it's boring, but basically they had the SE game, which is very famous in Asia. The SEE game is like the Olympics for Asians, and for the first time it was hosted in Cambodia. And usually every year it's called Muay Thai, right? This discipline is called Muay Thai. But last year they called it Kun Khmer. And because of that, Thailand boycotted the SE Games in Cambodia. They didn't send one athlete to that country to the games, and they said we don't go there because you are not calling it Muay Thai. So now it's like, that was the first ever in the history of Southeast Asia, and it's just very sour, very very crazy what's happening between the two countries right now. And all this to say that it is like, again, the roots, if you look at the Khmer Empire, it's very, it is honestly coming from Cambodia. But anyway, the rules, we found common ground. No headbutts. And I said, I want at least a couple aspects of Lethwei. I don't want to fight with gloves. Like, you don't want headbutts, I don't want gloves. So he's like, well, how about we do it like traditional ropes? I'm like, you know what? That's fucking badass. That's a nice standoff, a nice last dance with ropes. I've never done it. So, I would have done gloves, I would have done no gloves, and I would have done ropes. That's bucket list shit. Then I said, what about KO to win? I don't want, you can go on your enemy territory and then I fuck you up for 5 rounds or 3 rounds and then I lose on points because you're the home dog. So it's like, let's do KO to win. So that's the aspect of Lethwei, right? So, and then, so that means I have to KO him on his turf to win. And, if otherwise it doesn't affect either of our record, it's draw. So it's going to be, and then I'm like, guys, let's make it exciting. He's like, well, actually, I don't know if your viewers understand that, but there's a thing called MAS, M-A-S, where we had a big fight. Hunman Choi fought Yi Long. It's like from China. It's a rule set that actually has 1 round of 9 minutes. So in a way, it will be with mass rules, which has 1 round of 9 minutes. And I thought that was very exciting, very different, very unique. So yeah, it is basically, and Dylan, forgive me for the long answer, but weirdly enough, you're Canadian, I'm Canadian, and over the years of my career, I have dedicated my life to Myanmar because they made me feel welcome. I've never felt welcome anywhere in the world. I feel more at home there than I feel in Canada. Basically, I will represent. It's being billed as Myanmar versus Cambodia. So this little guy from Gatineau, small town in Canada, is basically fighting under the Myanmar flag against Cambodia because I have all the country behind me, and it's basically like this ancient, friendship fight between the two countries like this, which is fucking crazy when you start to think about it.
No, I appreciate the depth of detail for sure. I mean, that's really what I'm looking for sure. I mean, it's just such a very intriguing situation because, like you were kind of talking about there, like it seems like the unity with Myanmar and Cambodia is definitely there, and it's cool like what you're doing. Like, I mean, this isn't necessarily like a Lethwei fight specifically, but cool that you're really still like looking to, I guess, push that more even in like a promoter capacity once you're kind of like, wrapped up with the fighting and stuff like that. And just cool you're doing that, especially because it's such a hard situation in Myanmar, as you know, with everything that's happening and, previous opponents of yours, unfortunately passing away from how awful the situation is out there. But just to say, it's cool that you're,
crazy. And to add on this, there's another depth to, and I can tell you really did, you really know your info. Yeah, so Tutu, one of my former opponents, died. Tutu Min, who's basically I had a trilogy with Tutu Min, is actually fought Prom Samnang at the SE Games. So he was actually at the in the national team for Myanmar. They went to Cambodia. That was a couple months ago, and they both. Prom Samnang ended up going to the finals, and against who? Tun Tun Min, my nemesis, ended up going to the finals. So they fought. It was a pretty big. Everybody was watching this, and Prom Samnang won on point at the end. So Prom got the gold medal, and Tun Tun Min from Myanmar got the silver. So now it's like I got some little shade thrown at me from Cambodian fans. They're like, "Look at that! Prom Samnang won against your former foe. So how about you come show what you got." So I'm like, guys, this is I'm in a different league now. Like we fought, but I evolved. Since, and this is not going to be the same. Like, so anyway, all this to say that there's a lot of aspects to this. So it's like he's on a 50 or 40. I don't know how many fights in a row winning streak. It's pretty impressive. I think like 50 or something, and so he's like the king of the Kun Khmer in Cambodia, and I'm gonna dethrone him.
Yeah, I mean, such a decorated opponent. I mean, just even seeing some aspects of the resume, like, I mean, 150 some odd fights, like you said, massive win streak for sure. I mean, this strikes me as a person you were already like fairly aware of even before this bout lined up. Is this someone you've kind of had in your proverbial crosshairs for a while now, I guess?
Yeah, it's so true. I was actually looking at him a lot because I was analyzing one of my former opponent, Leduc, who was Leduc fought the likes of Sami Sana and Bon FC, or he fought Youssef Bougamen, and he knocked out Bougamen at Rajamandan. So when I was studying for Leduc, I came across Prom Samnang, who actually fought Leduc in Cambodia, and he won on decision, and that wasn't very impressive, 3 or 5 rounds decision. So I ended up knocking him out in the first round. So for me, again, that doesn't tell you anything, but it just for me it adds to the to my confidence level. The fact that like I know what I'm doing. So anyway, I was thinking about him a lot because I thought it was very interesting. I wanted him to come to fight Lethwei, which is because I always say Lethwei is the ultimate striking test. It is the way where you gloves off, everything off, because those ropes are quite massive. They're quite they don't cut as much as when you have only a thin layer of gauze, and like in Lethwei. So for me, Lethwei is where you really express yourself freely with everything goes in the clinch, everything goes, and then you don't care about points, and it's just you only focus on damage. So of course I wanted to fight on the other 2 rules. We found a common ground in this mass rule, which is what able to win and everything. So it makes sense. But yeah, it's something I definitely take this fight very seriously, because like I had a talk with my coach yesterday, Sifu Pat, and he's like, after what's happening right now with my former training partners, like Israel, had an upset recently. He's like, use that as a wake up call. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too friendly. Don't get too, that's when shit happens. And I'm like, yeah, it's true, because it's easy to get on the roll, and then you forget how there's a lot of always like day one, scared of getting knocked out, scared to lose. Basically fear, use it as a fuel, and it's dangerous when you're not afraid anymore if you're overly confident. So you don't want to be overly confident, and I know I have the tools to beat him. I know I have great stuff that can really put him on his ass, and I'm really confident about this. But I should still go out there with massive fear, like I always go.
Yeah, for sure, and I don't know if you were necessarily phrasing it in this kind of way, but is that almost like the sentiment with like Lethwei to this certain scale? I guess like my thought is like maybe you would have like one more like Lethwei kind of like send-off fight, especially with some of the more recent discourse of like Mike Perry kind of indicating some interest in that. Can you, I guess, expound upon that a bit, maybe?
Yeah, so recently I've gotten a lot of people, trying to do crossovers and stuff like that. Feldman messaged me as well, seeing if there's a way to get it happen. And unfortunately, they really wanted just BKFC rules. And for me, I made a promise to Myanmar. I made a promise to them that I'm promoting Lethwei, and it has to be in the same courts. And so. Unfortunately, I was not able to do it. And also, I'm kind of in a way of my life right now that like I want to, like, I made some good money in my career, and now I feel like I want to I want to exponentially grow it, and you don't do that with fighting itself. Even my colleague, Connor, same thing, open alcohol. You have to do business at one point. And for me right now, I feel like it's a big flex to be able to be comfortable at 31 years old, and I could be, I retire on top, undefeated. I have, a good friend of mine, Bastard, and he's a really good friend, and it's like my a big brother, and he's like, I really respect that he retired on a winning streak. He retired on top. I really always find it's a shame when the guys are, like many losses. They end a beautiful career on many losses. It kind of puts tarnishes it a little bit. Not that I'm afraid to lose at all. I love to fight. I'm actually gonna miss it. I'm struggling with it mentally right now. It's like, what is Dave after fighting? Right? There's two Daves. There's the Dave the fighter. So is he dying? Is he there? No, he's still gonna be there. Still gonna spar. Still gonna wrestle. Still gonna maybe do some BJJ competitions. I'm gonna find a way to get that energy. But for me, I'm in a part of my life that I have a son now. We want to have more kids. I want to open my gym, and I want to create generational wealth for my lineage. And the thing is, it is needed for aspiring fighters listening to this as well. I had to grow through this. I had to go to the $200 fights in Thailand, and and then growing and then making my name, and then going to Myanmar, which was really my step up. And then I made big money in there. So then fought in Japan, fought in Tokyo, fought in America. The thing is, you have to go through these things to build your name, because the reason why I'm even interesting is because I fought. So, fighting is number one. Then once you're able to grow out of it, well, I feel like I'm ready for the next step. I'm trying to build a gym in Latin America. I always loved Costa Rica, so I'm trying to, I'll do these things. So to answer your question is, I actually forgot the question, but I feel like there's in a way, I remember. I feel like the last couple of years, what happened with the world has really pissed me off when it comes to the government restrictions and the fact that it was, but mostly that. And there's a big shift happening right now in the world. It's a bigger fight happening in the world. So I kind of feel like a bit useless, like as a gladiator, just entertaining the crowd, like back in the days. Well, bread and games. You give the bread and games, but right now in the back there's this big massive shift, financial, economical, politics, war. They're all playing with us, but. Yeah, let's just go fight. I feel like it's kind of. I'm not putting down my fight because I think it's fucking exciting. I feel like there's a bigger fight happening in the world, and I need to get ready for whatever shift is going to happen from this. Whatever it's protecting our assets, whatever it's protecting all this, and I've been pissed off for the last 2-3 years. They're starting again at the end of the year. I feel like it really. Kind of stopped me on my. I wanted to defend even more. I did. I think nine title defenses successfully. I was hoping to do more, but then after the Cyrus Washington fight in Wyoming, then COVID hit and the whole thing happened. So it was basically 2 years in my prime, kind of left on the sideline, waiting for this to come back. And then WLC stopped as well, which was massive in Myanmar. Now they're shut down. So it's like, fuck this game, fuck this. I'm gonna promote. I'm gonna become my own promoter. I'm gonna promote my own fights, not my own fights, but I'm gonna promote Lethwei myself, and I'll do it myself because anyway. So. Those fights the other fights are just, it could have been nice. Perry could have been nice. He called me out. I accepted. Didn't come through. How many guys I could have fought? Like, I could have fought 100 more, but when is enough? Dylan, like, I have, my goal was to become champion. I did it. I continued. I got, and then I got, 5 more titles. Okay, now I have 6 world titles. Like, do I need 10 to be fulfilled? Do I need 20? When is enough? And I think that's one big problem in fighting is that people don't know when to stop. And I think is they don't know how to stop because they're not good financially. They don't manage their thing well, and they end up fighting at 50, 60 years old. Okay, sure, you might like it, but does it mean that it's a good idea? Anyway, I feel like there's a. I don't know. I feel like it's just people don't know when to stop, and they end up because initially it's a trauma in the head. All fighters have trauma, whether it's childhood trauma, whether I love what Sean Strickland said, which I was very impressed by the way. because he is, it doesn't strike me like the smartest guy. And I would tell him in his face, I think he knows. But somehow he did some trauma work, and he knows that his will to fight is fueled by his childhood trauma, which is very impressive. Most people don't do retrospection, and that's the thing. So if at 60 fucking years old, 55, 50, you still have that urge to fight, well, I feel like you didn't do a lot of emotional trauma work, and you don't really know your roots. Because when you know, and I know it, mine got kicked out of the house, got kicked out of my family house at 18. So I know once I realized that, okay, I'm fighting because I want to prove my dad that I'm strong. I want to, once you realize that, it kind of extinguishes a little bit do you still want to do it 100 times? Do you still, because you're doing it for, you know the reason now. So it's kind of like, okay, well, don't need to do it many more times then. It's just, you're doing this because you're a hurt child. You're a hurt boy. But once you realize, anyway, I could go on like this, but like for me, it's been a beautiful journey. I learned a lot about myself, and now I'm ready to show the next generation, my son.
Well, I mean, I think that really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's a loaded comment. There's a lot to unpack there.
I just really appreciate that level of insight, and that really, is what it is. I mean, fighters, I feel like, ultimately try to strive for, like, the things that you already have. Like you said, like, you're good financially, great winning streak, the accolades are there and everything, but just very interesting, like, the commentary about how there's, like, a, cathartic kind of, like, subvert the trauma kind of component to everything. And, I mean, it's one of those things, too, where, like, you don't necessarily have to be out there actually competing in Lethwei. Like, it's obviously you're doing it in a promoter capacity to kind of grow the sport. So there's different ways to achieve these different ends and still be involved in martial arts, as we're kind of talking about, and as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's, yeah, I mean, you said it well. I can be involved as a promoter, which I've done 2 beautiful events, and we had a big one last couple months in Slovakia. It was really nice. MFC Apocalypse, and actually I'm gonna, with the team that promotes MFC, we're gonna basically co-promote the event in Cambodia. So all the team is gonna be involved in promoting it, and actually the commentator team. Chris and Andrew Whitelaw, who's worked with the UFC and won championship and Fox Sports, will be actually, because of our request, we'll have a separate English broadcast live. So that's going to be nice. So they were supposed to only have Khmer, Cambodian language, but now they're going to make a separate broadcast because of the size of this fight and how many people from around the world that want to watch it. So yeah, I'm gonna basically the MFC team, my promotion, will be involved in promoting it, and that's really why I feel like in a way the transition is easier because of that, because I just love this sport and I want to grow it. So by continuing to host fights, we're trying to get one in Colombia afterwards. So yeah, I have this. I feel good. I feel good about it.
Yeah, and as a couple Canadians talking, it'd be cool to see a little Lethwei in Canada eventually, maybe in Alberta or something.
You think so? I'm not aware of anything other than Quebec, and I know they're very restrictive. So Alberta, they're a bit more permissive.
Well, they have like a bit of a precedent set for doing bare knuckle, like they did bare knuckle in, I believe it was either Medicine Hat or Lethbridge, and there's an upcoming event in February in Red Deer where they're looking to do bare knuckle. So some level of precedence with gloveless combat set there.
Okay, that's cool. I vowed to, I don't want to get political, but I actually vowed to never go back to Canada. So I don't know if I'll be able to go because I vowed to never go back because I hate the leadership right now and it's pissing me off. So but like if they're permissive and all, that's amazing to hear. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just being greedy trying to get it over here, but just great to see the international growth of the sport all the same.
Yeah, no, exactly. For me, and I want to make something clear for everybody. Like, I see comments sometimes, like, it will never be mainstream. It will never. Well, to be honest, right now, I'm just stoked with the the explosion of fans for Lethwei, like on YouTube. Everybody, like, it's just amazing, and people are trying, messaging me like, when did your gym open, and how can I train Lethwei if there's no Lethwei gym in my area? I'm like, well, right now you don't have a choice. Either you join like a kickboxing school or a Muay Thai school, but keep the Lethwei mentality while you train. And, use the head pressure. Think about some takedowns. Train your neck for knockout resistance and the clinch. And you can do some small controlled headbutts on the pads and on the bags. Because at the end of the day, Lethwei is a mentality, right? It's the way. It's almost like I see like Jeet Kune Do, and I come from a Jeet Kune Do background in Canada, and it's like there's not one style of Lethwei fighter. Like in Muay Thai, there's pretty much there's a similar mold for everybody. Some guys favor different strikes, knees, elbows, and stuff like that. But overall, there's their rhythm. First of all, that they have the same rhythm, and then Lethwei, it's more like. Like I'm a Sanda guy at the base, and I came in with a wide stance, which I was completely hated when I was in Thailand because of that. They tried to mold me back to the mold, and I said no, I don't check kicks. I catch them and I counter right away, and I do sweeps and I do this and that. And there's different kinds of guy that go into Lethwei in a way, kind of Jeet Kune Do, like Bruce Lee said. Don't forget your roots. Use whatever works at your advantage. When he came from China and he went to America, he's like, shit, I can't use my double blast against these big black bouncers, right? Like, I have to go in with circular hooks. I have to use different stuff. So he adapted, and that's what I came in when I did Lethwei. I like, shit. If I realized that everybody that was from Muay Thai base was going into Lethwei, and they were crossing over to Myanmar, and they were getting stopped in the clinch with headbutts and the pain threshold and the lack of gloves, because there's nothing comparable with the lack of the lack of glove. And I don't know if you know what it is with like Thai fight. They use ropes as well, which comes from Cambodia, but basically they use ropes. So they don't know. When the Thai fighters come to Myanmar, they're like, "Oh shit, this is different," and they're so cocky. And I know that for a fact. Because I saw a Thai fighter training for a Lethwei fight, and I said, "You don't train headbutts?" Nah, I don't care. He didn't want to learn about it. He didn't want to care about it, and then he got fucking dropped with a headbutt. I'm like, fuck, man. So they all this to say it's a mentality, and you don't have to fit in a mold. You can use whatever you use at your advantage. I'm tall and slim. Some guys are short and stocky. Use whatever works for you. Oh, and I was thinking, and one thing I want to make clear is that it doesn't matter if Lethwei is legal everywhere. The goal was never that, and it will never be. And I've been clear about that. Right now it's legal in around 9 countries, I believe, like Poland, Slovakia, Taiwan, Thailand, Myanmar, Russia. U.S. It's legal in Wyoming for now. So, off the top of my head, like around 9 countries where there's been actual Lethwei, New Zealand, and for me, this is a win already. And I'm not expecting Lethwei to be legalized in France, where they just legalized MMA. Forget about that. They still fight Muay Thai. Like Sanchai still fights Muay Thai with elbow pads in France. Like, I don't want to fucking fight Lethwei with the helmet and elbow pads. So my point is, and they watered down the rules in order to get into the Olympics. Like, I don't give a fuck if Lethwei becomes an Olympic recognized. That's the beauty of the sport. It's the last remaining sport in the world where you can use headbutts, and that's why I got along so well with Mark Coleman when he reached out to me and he's like, this is fucking cool, and if yes, you remove the headbutts, well, you become another sport that just that's the beauty of Lethwei. So I wanted to say that it will always be only legal in small, like, niche, badass countries that don't give a fuck. Like Poland was super welcoming, Slovakia extremely welcoming, Russia and obviously Myanmar, but right now it's harder to get in for most people. So what I want to say is that I'm super actually proud and happy that it's only available in some countries. You can train it everywhere. You can train it. There could be Lethwei gyms around the world. That's what I'm going to work on. But fight it, you have to go. You have to go where they have big balls.
I'm trying to find a sophisticated way to ask this question, I guess, but you just talk about like how much of like a unique variable the headbutts are for certain people that just aren't accustomed to that. Like, just in all of your Lethwei fights, is there like a particular headbutt that maybe stands out as like the most, I guess, optimally timed, like pristinely landed, however you want to say that? And can you also maybe, I guess, try to explain the physical sensation of it? Because like you said, I feel like it's a very unique thing in a lot of regards.
That's a very good question. And just before I answer that, I want to say that Lethwei, when you look at it from right off the bat, that's what stands out. But I want to make sure I want to emphasize that actually for me the most the biggest change in Lethwei compared to other sports is the KO to win. So let's say you would have like the KO to win in UFC right now. Well, you would have a different fight. It would change the mentality because the guys wouldn't go, for example, the takedown at a certain round. They wouldn't do this and that at a certain time. It would only be emphasis on damage, and it wouldn't be you wouldn't have controversial split decision or split draw and all whatever the split unanimous. And the thing is, it would be okay. Last man standing wins. Otherwise, it's a draw, and it really changes the game when you don't count points. For example, in Muay Thai, the first round is to feel each other out. The second round, whatever, you go a bit harder, and then third, and then the fourth round is when you really go for the kicks. The kicks are valuable, but punches are not really valuable, and it's more like a tool. Yeah, you can knock out, but it's not as common as, let's say, a kick or an elbow and stuff like that. So it's a very intricate scoring system, which I don't have any problem with that. I think it's a great sport, and I always said it's a great sport. It's just that it's not the most permissive, and it's not the big dog of striking sport, because you are put in a cage. You are put in a cage when it comes to your what you should do. So if your goal was to go blasting with punches and elbows in the fourth round, and the other guy was just kicking your leg as a counter, well, you lose on points. So it's just not as sexy as Lethwei. And all this to say that for me the biggest point is the fact that there's no scoring system in traditional Lethwei, which is a bit more. A bit more. You have to understand a bit more. You have to look a bit deeper than just see a different strike that is illegal in other sports. Because obviously for the less educated look, right, it's the headbutt. But when you start looking into it, you're like, shit. The fact that there's no points changes the game, changes the strikes too. If you don't have any points, you're going for what's going to cut most. You're not going to kick as much. I don't kick much. I try to cut with my fist on his cheek, on his eyebrows, on his nose, because I know that like my knuckles, or my exposed my big knuckle with the abrasive of the gauze, it's I want to cut. I want to draw blood. And if I kick his leg, well, he's probably going to resist it until the end, because that's what most people do. It's just very rare you see a guy, quitting on strikes on the leg. It's very rare, unless he gets injured. And then if so the goal is to strike with punches and elbows. For me, I love elbows because don't break your hand. But in Lethwei, the way the Burmese block, they chin down and they let you hit their forehead with your punches, and a lot of foreigners break their hands. Thankfully, it never happened to me. I had close calls, massive hands, but most of the guys break their knuckles. And all this to say, yeah. So to go back on the headbutts, it feels like really good when you do a good headbutt. When it's hard to soft. So the hard part of your skull is where your kind of your hairline stops. So that's when the hardest part of your skull, when the cranium starts to curve on your forehead. And then you use that on, the temple, on the jaw, and on the nose, obviously, and on the eyebrows. So if you land the hard part on soft tissues like this, on softer parts, you barely feel anything. I actually feel nothing. nothing at all. It feels actually like it feels good. It's like a knife, a hot knife in the butter, like you just boom, and it just feels like hitting the sweet spot on a baseball or on a golf ball. You're like, whoa, that was smooth. Then if you don't hit that, that's a good analogy. I'm going to write that in the book, actually. Golf balls, let me write that down. Golf ball or baseball. So this is the way. If you don't do that, if you hit hard to hard, let's say my hard skull to the other hard part, like Steven Seagal would do in the movies, boom, basically you always want to go in an angle when you do a headbutt, like on the side. And if you do forward and you hit the hard part, you are getting like stunned. You're getting stars and everything like that. So I'm pretty sure even if you hit it on a sweet spot, it still probably shakes your brain a little bit. But for me, for example, it's an occasional treat. It's an occasional strike that I do. I'm very focused on longevity. I've been throughout my career, like I always want to be able to talk well and I haven't been touched much. So I was always very cautious.
November 5th, The Last Dance, Prom Samnang and Dave Leduc throw down, champ versus champ. This is Bowks Talking Bouts.